Hi everyone, hope you're well. Today I'm going to tell you a story. Now, you might know this story, but what you don't know is the story about the story. Okay, so here's the story. There's an old man and he's walking along the beach at dawn and he sees a little boy. And the little boy is picking up a starfish and throwing it into the water. And he carries on watching him for a while and he's picking up more and more starfish and throwing them back into the water because the tide's out at the moment and they've all been washed up onto the beach. And the old man says to him, "What are you doing?" And the little boy says, "Well, look, the sun's going to come up soon and there's all these stranded starfish on the beach. And when the sun comes up, they're all going to burn. So I'm throwing them back in the water." And the man says to him, "You're a bit crazy. Look how much, there's miles and miles of beach and there's thousands and thousands of starfish. What difference do you think you're going to make?" And the little boy picks up one more starfish and throws it back in and says, "But I've made a difference to that one starfish." So it's a very nice story, and the message is clear that, we can't save the whole world all in one go, but we can make a big difference to individuals and we can save them, help them one by one. So, very nice story. This is actually my sister-in-law Maria's favourite story because it was her uncle's favourite story, and it became like a family heirloom that got retold and retold and handed down. Whenever they got together, they'd hear this story. So it was a very familiar story to her. And she was attending a CPD lecture. She's a therapist, and the facilitator on the course started telling this story. So Maria's like smiling along and nodding because she knows the story, she knows how it's going to end. And the facilitator gets to the end of the story, but he has a different ending. He turns around to the group and instead of saying that the boy throws one more in and says, "I've made a difference to that one starfish," he turns around to the group and he asks them the following question. He says to them, "Who was your starfish thrower?" And she's completely floored because she's never thought of it in that way. We all think of ourselves as the starfish thrower. We're the ones who, we like to help and we like to throw other people back in and give them a lifeline and be able to help out where we can. But most of us, at some point, if we look back through our lives, we've had moments where we have been the starfish. We've been the ones who were thrown back in and somebody did something or said something or helped us that completely changed things for us. In this week's Sedra in Devarim, we have Moshe's final speech to the Jewish people. The whole book is just him talking. He talks and talks and talks. It goes on for 5 weeks. It's his last 5 weeks before he dies, and he just gets everything off his chest, everything that up until now he hasn't said, and he just held it all in, and now he just lets them have it. So this week's Parsha, Devarim, starts with a recap. A lot of what he talks about is things that have already happened, and he goes over all the stories that we already know. So he says in the beginning of the first Perek, he says, you remember just after Har Sinai, we just got the Torah, and Hashem told us it's time to move on. And Moshe says to the people this week, he says to them, "And I said to you that I'm finding this really hard, and it's too much for one person to bear alone, and I need help." And then I set up the system of all the judges under me. I trained them up so that I'd have help to be able to deal with all of you. Now, you know what's really interesting about this statement? It's actually not true. It might be what he was thinking, it might be what he was feeling, but he never actually said it. He says to us this week that he said this to us, but he never actually said it. If you look back in Parashas Yisro, where this was supposedly taking place, there's no conversation like that. Moshe never communicated to the people that he found it hard. He was a leader par excellence, and he didn't ever unload his burdens onto the people until this last 5 weeks of his life, where he finally verbalizes that actually this was really hard. And he's clearly our starfish thrower. If you think through all our time together, he's the one who went to Paro for us. He did all the plagues, and he helped, well, with Hashem's help, obviously, he split the sea, and he took us out of Egypt, and he brought us to Matan Torah, and he got the Torah for us, and he explained it to us. And anytime we had a problem in the Midbar, if we'd run out of water, or there was no food, or there was no meat, we'd complain and complain and complain, and every time he would be the one to sort it out for us. And you know what I realized? There's no posuk in the Torah that says something like, "Vayomru b'nei Yisrael al Moshe." B'nei Yisrael said to Moshe, "Toda rabah." Thanks. Thanks, Moshe. You're doing a really good job. This is hard on all of us. We're struggling. It's a long time to be walking around in a desert for, and we really appreciate everything you're doing for us. I mean, also think about it from Moshe's point of view. He had a really hard life. He was given away as a baby. He grew up in the house of Paro, who hated all the Jews. He had to run away, flee Mitzrayim, and then he came back and he was thrust into the position of being a leader, which was a position he never asked for, he never wanted. But Hashem said to him, "You're the one, you've got to do it." And he did it. He did it amazingly. And not once did we say thank you. Would it have killed us to occasionally send him a bunch of tumbleweed for Shabbos just to put that gesture out there to say, "Good job, Moshe. We really appreciate everything you're doing"? And maybe the whole dynamic of our time in the midbar, in the desert, would have changed if we just had those conversations where we say thank you and he says he's finding it hard, and we say, "Yeah, we know it's hard, but keep going because we're all in this together and you're doing a great job." Maybe the whole dynamic in the desert would have completely changed. It would have been a more positive, enjoyable experience for all of us. Because sometimes even the leader, even the starfish thrower, needs to hear from the starfish that he's appreciated. So I haven't finished the starfish story. That's not the end. Maria, upon hearing the question, "Who is your starfish thrower?" actually thought to herself, "Well, who are they?" And she went all proactive and she actually phoned them to say thank you and to tell them that she appreciated what they'd done for her. Now, that would be a great ending to the story, but that's not even the ending to the story. 2 weeks later, there's a knock at the door, and she opens the door, and there's a delivery man there, and he's standing there with a really, really big box. And inside the box is a massive fish tank full of tropical fish and little stone starfish. It was from her starfish thrower that she'd phoned to say thank you for the thank you. So how amazing is that? So I thought it would be really nice this week if we all just think for a moment about those people in our lives that have really made a big difference. And maybe we've already thanked them, or maybe we never had the chance to thank them. Maybe we just want to thank them again. But it could be anyone. It could be a sibling, a parent, a primary school teacher, a high school teacher, a rabbi, a mentor, a friend who gave you really good advice. Maybe now's the time to just say, I really appreciate what you've done for me. Have a good week and a good Shabbos.